Argentinian Vice President Christina Fernandez says the country is not in a constitutional democratic state and that there is a judicial party in the nation. In France, tens of thousands take to the streets for the seventh day of protests against President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform plans. And Japan commemorates the 12th anniversary of the tsunami and earthquake that triggered the 2011 nuclear disaster in Fukushima. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news, and we do so in Argentina. Vice President Christina Fernandez affirmed that after 40 years of democracy, the country is not in a constitutional democratic state and reiterated that there is a judicial party in the nation. In her speech, the Vice President attributed the deficiency in the functioning of the executive, legislative, and judicial powers to the obsolescence of the structure of the state. Also, she gave an overview of the political context that created the conditions for the arrival of Néstor Kirchner to the presidency, bringing stability and returning the functions to each one of the powers. However, the Vice President denounced the alliance of sectors of the opposition with the judiciary, which calls into question the independence of powers.
And today, after 4 years of democracy, next December 10th, what we are experiencing in terms of division of powers, when we see that the opposition, or at least the most important sector of the opposition, is allied with the judiciary and doing what we know is being done. In my opinion, we are not seeing today a constitutional democratic state.
In this context, Vice President Christina Fernandez spoke of acting in an ethical manner and respecting the political opponent.
I had no desire to be a protagonist in this. However, the rupture of the Democratic Pact, not the one we built from 2003, when Néstor rebuilt the constitutional democratic state, but the one that was built on October 30th, 1983, and consolidated on December 10th in the Plaza de Mayo. It was the pact that you couldn't even think that repressing the opponent was repressing life. That could be eliminated. It was all right. That if he was an opponent or if I didn't agree with him, I could kill him, make him disappear or go to exile. There was something that was absolutely validated by society. However, on September 1st, it was broken.
In Mexico, the second cycle of peace talks between the Colombian government and the National Liberation Army came to a close. The peace delegations of both parties are participating in the event together with the Colombian Vice President Francia Márquez and the Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard. During his opening speech, Ebrard greeted the parties and affirmed that it is an honor for his country to collaborate with the construction of peace in Colombia. Likewise, the chief negotiator of the ELN, Pablo Beltrán, showed his gratitude to the government of Cuba for accepting to host the third cycle of peace talks.
For us, it is a pleasure, a privilege, to be able to contribute, to do our bit so that peace can be built in the great fatherland, in Colombia. Because in the end, we are brotherly peoples, and if it is successful, because they are succeeding in building peace, it means that we can build peace everywhere. And if it is successful in recognizing the others and respecting each other, in understanding each other, then imagine the future that awaits us. Freedom, rights, common causes, that is what this dialogue is all about.
The head of the peace delegation of the National Liberation Army, Pablo Beltrán, indicated that in the second round of peace talks with the government of Colombia, a work agenda was established, which includes the participation of Colombian civil society in the construction of peace.
The new agenda of conversations that we have signed here, that we have named the Mexico Agreement, in which we call on all of Colombia to participate in the construction of a common vision of peace beyond that which the two parties at this table may have, with the purpose of serving as the foundation of a political and social alliance that will structure a national agreement for the transformation that our country needs and lead the unstoppable transition that will allow us to turn the page of the tragic night of structural violence. In this way, a great objective will have a great force that will propel it in a sustained route of changes in the short, medium, and long term.
The head of the delegation of the Colombian government, Oti Patiño, highlighted during the day the commitment of the delegations to reach a national peace agreement based on three fundamental pillars. Let's hear them.
Our commitment is directed to build a great national agreement that is a result of the will of the Colombian people and of the totality of the social political actors through three fundamental pillars: citizen participation, real democracy, and social economic transformations.
Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of TeleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us.
In a world that doesn't...
Welcome back to From the South. Demonstrators in France took to the streets Saturday for a seventh day of protests against President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform plans, with police expecting up to 1 million people at rallies nationwide. In cities such as Toulouse, Nice, and Strasbourg, demonstrations started before noon, while in Paris, Marseille, Lyon, Bordeaux, Lille, and Montpellier, among others, they began in the afternoon. These Saturday strikes continue with an impact on rail transport and aviation. These mobilizations followed the massive protests of March 7th, when the General Labour Confederation estimated at 3.5 million participants, one of the largest in Republican history. The unrest over the bill, which seeks to extend the legal retirement age in France from 62 to 64, could have additional motivations after President Emmanuel Macron ruled out a meeting with the unions the day before to discuss the controversial reform.
It's not new that we demonstrate on Saturdays. Our concern is that this mobilization should be representative of all the anger that exists in the country, and that's why we said to justify the last Saturday demonstration. We want to alternate weekday mobilizations, which are really very important, but also Saturday mobilizations. We all know men and women workers who sometimes apologize for not being able to take action during the week, and who tell us, we'll be there on Saturday because Saturday cost us nothing on our paycheck.
On Friday, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President Emmanuel Macron agreed a new pact to stop illegal cross-channel migration after a summit in Paris aimed at overcoming years of Brexit tensions. Both leaders hailed a new start in relations between the two neighbors after intense talks in Paris, which were also marked by expressions of unity in their support for Ukraine in fighting the Russian special operation. It was the first UK-French summit in 5 years after Sunak became Prime Minister in October following the stormy tenures of Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, marked by rancorous relations with Paris. The centerpiece of the new atmosphere Friday was the deal to thwart illegal cross-channel migration, a prime political priority for Sunak as he seeks to rescue the popularity of the ruling right-wing Conservative Party. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov accuses foreign countries of fomenting days of mass protests in Georgia, likening them to an attempted coup designed to show tensions on Russia's borders.
It is very similar to the Maidan in Kyiv. There is no doubt that the law on the registration of non-governmental organizations that receive foreign funding to the amount of only 20% of their budget was used as an excuse to start, generally speaking, an attempt to change the government by force. These events in Georgia are, of course, being orchestrated from abroad and with the aim of creating an irritant on the borders of Russia.
Japan commemorates this Saturday the 12th anniversary of the tsunami and earthquake that triggered the 2011 nuclear disaster. Tokyo residents offer prayers and observe a minute of silence on the anniversary of the deadly tsunami that triggered the Fukushima nuclear disaster. The 9.0 magnitude earthquake, the fourth strongest in recorded history, devastated northeastern Japan 12 years ago. It caused 15,900 deaths and left 2,523 people missing. "12 years after the nuclear disaster at the Fukushima plant, Tokyo Electric Power Company is seeking to discharge water from storage tanks into the sea. The company said it is currently treating the water with advanced liquid processing system, a system for removing various radioactive materials from the contaminated water. Also seeks to ensure that the treated water, which still contains some chemicals, does not pose a danger to the environment. The storage tanks were installed to hold the water used to cool reactors after the 2011 disaster, but the canisters are nearing capacity. TEPCO is building a pipeline and other facilities to discharge the water into the sea. In Indonesia on Saturday, the Merapi Mount volcano erupted, spouting a river of incandescent lava about 1.5 kilometers long, generating alert in the local authorities. So far, lava eruption has been observed reaching a distance of 1,500 meters towards the southwest of the country. Authorities warned the population of nearby localities to avoid activities in the danger zones, within a radius of between 3 and 7 kilometers from the volcano's crater. Merapi, 2,968 meters high, is located on the border between the Yogyakarta Special Region and the Central Java Province. It is considered the most active volcano in Indonesia and one of the most erupting volcanoes in the world. In Ecuador, authorities report that more than 80,000 people have been affected by heavy rains in the province of Manabí in recent days. This information was given by the Manabí civil governor, Leonardo Orlando, who pointed out that the floods and mudslides have caused 3 deaths and losses of around $8 million in the productive sector, after leaving 2,800 hectares underwater. He also pointed out that the meteorological services are forecasting a new period of heavy rain, thunderstorms, and temporary gusts of winds that could last throughout the first half of this month. According to the Secretariat of Risk Management, the city got around 18 million cubic meters of water. This is enough to fill 7,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. We are going to take a short break right now, but before we want to announce that TeleSUR now can be seen in 33 different African countries. So tune in with TeleSUR and keep up to date with the recent events. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back from the South. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin congratulated Li Qian on his appointment as Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China. The Russian government reported on Saturday. The Slavic nation's Premier welcomed the fact that Moscow and Beijing are deepening cooperation in various fields and emphasized that bilateral relations are currently at a high level unprecedented in their entire century-long history. Mishustin, moreover, wished Li Qian good health, prosperity, and success in his position. The appointment of Li, a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China, to the post of Premier was approved by the National People's Congress of China on Saturday. Tunisian President Kais Saied dissolved municipal councils months before they were due to be elected, for dismantling the systems of government developed after the 2011 revolution that brought democracy. The municipal councils will be replaced by special delegations made up of civil servants and placed under the supervision of the governor of each region. The mandates of the 350 mayors and municipal councillors currently in place are due to expire at the end of April, and elections were theoretically scheduled to follow. In the 2018 local elections, a third of municipal councils came under the control of Enenha, an Islamist party that has been the most vocal critic of Said. Elected municipal councils were introduced after the 2014 constitution called for decentralization, a constitution that Said has replaced with one he wrote himself and passed last year in a referendum with low turnout. A European emergency aid plane arrived in Goma, Democratic Republic of the Congo, as fighting broke out between the M23 militiamen and government troops. It is the first of a series of airdrops announced by the European Union. The aid mission is the first of an airlift announced last Saturday by the European Union to help the beleaguered city. The city of more than 1 million people is increasingly under threat from M23 rebels. They have captured swath of North Kivu province since they re-emerged from their slumber in late 2021. After a day of relative calm, fighting erupted early Friday near the village of Murambi, less than 30 kilometers west of Goma. Local authorities said Goma has the Rwandan border to the east and Lake Kivu to the south. The M23 controls much of the north territory of the city and is now also encroaching from the west.
It is very important that we can enlighten the world to what is happening and to these movements of displaced people. We were talking about this earlier with the governor. There are more than 600,000 displaced people here in the city of Goma. Out of 1 million inhabitants, there are 600,000 displaced people who are here, welcome in Goma and its surroundings.
We want to bear witness in the face of a situation which is intolerable, which is not acceptable. What is happening here in Eastern Congo is unacceptable. What is happening in Eastern Congo must be brought to light. This is the reason for our presence here. This is the reason for this humanitarian airdrop. This is the reason for our diplomatic and political investment that accompanies this humanitarian bridge.
The ruling junta in Mali announced on Friday that it would postpone a constitutional referendum for March 19th, while assuring that it would respect its commitments to return civilians to the helm of the country in 2024. Government spokesman Abdoulaye Maiga said in a statement read to the press that the date of the referendum will be postponed for March 19, 2023. This referendum is the first step supposed to be validated by the votes on the way to elections in February 2024 and a return to civilian rule. The junta justifies this postponement by the installation of the representations of the election management body in all regions of the country and by the desire to popularize the draft new constitution. This constitution is a key element of the vast reform project invoked by the military to justify continuing to rule this country until 2024.
The reasons for the postponement are very simple. We are permanently obliged to seek a balance between two principles which, without being in opposition, can sometimes be difficult to reconcile. On the one hand, we have the search for consensus and inclusiveness, which are very important to the head of state. And on the other side, we have the timetable.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.